Good morning. Good morning. This is Straight Talk Morning Show. My name is Andre Hill Sr., and to my right we have Andre Hill Jr., my co-host. How you doing this morning, man?
Good, I'm good. I'm good. Peace and love, fam. Peace and love.
Okay, so this has been an interesting week.
Oh, you're right.
And one of the things I got to talk about, the 1969-1970 football season was the last season at the Howard W. Blake High School. And we won the state championship that year.
Okay.
This year, it would be 50 years. And when we won the state championship, your dad was on that team.
Yeah.
I wasn't the all-star, but I was on the team. Okay.
Of course, I heard the story.
Yeah, at least 50 times, right?
Every year. Yeah.
And so after we won that state championship, there was another team in the city of Tampa to win the state championship for 30 years. All right, and mysteriously, after we won the state championship that year, our school was shut down, and all of our great players that were juniors.
Right.
I was a senior.
Right.
You know, they were dispersed to other schools because the other schools were licking their chops to get these quality players. Why? Because they wanted the glory of winning the state championship.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, man. So we will be celebrating that 50th year this year, and Jonas Harris was one of our top grade linebackers.
Okay.
Yeah, and last name Harris. You know, we got Harris in our name too, and he's heading up the committee to celebrate. When we won the state championship, we didn't get any rings. We don't even know where our trophy is.
What?
Yeah, they trashed it.
What about the jackets?
No, well, we got the jackets.
But you didn't get any rings.
We didn't get all the perks that goes with winning the state championship as a high school football team.
Yeah, man.
So the whole history was just dog.
Right.
Yeah, if you go over to the new Blake High School, you won't see that history. You won't see the trophies and anything that we went through.
What?
Yeah, and most of the schools that we played were AAA schools, and we were a single A school. Now, of course, you know, leading up to the championship, we played single A schools, but all of the games, we never had home cooking. We never had our own football field. We had to go play at everybody else's field.
Everybody else's field. Y'all were always on everybody else's turf.
Yeah, because Hillsborough County wouldn't build us a stadium. Now, all the other high schools had their own stadium, but not Blake High School.
You mean at least just a field, huh?
We had a field to practice on, but we didn't have a stadium back then.
Well, no, you mean with a field with bleachers.
Right,
Well,
right. And the lights and the broadcast booth and all that sort of
Gotcha.
thing. Yeah, man, that's a little known history fact.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, but you know, before, you know, the other teams, there were other championship teams with Blake High, and I'm quite sure Daddy Bo will call in and let me know.
Right.
Back then, we played in what was known as Phillips Field. That's right on the north side of the University of Tampa.
Okay.
And I remember as a little guy, you know, that black and gold was very powerful, resonating.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was your colors, huh? Black and gold?
The black and gold Yellow Jackets.
Yes, indeed.
So, to any listeners out there, if you had any relatives, cousins, brothers, sisters, husbands, boyfriends that played on that team with me and Jonas, Lionel Ballard, Henry Cummins, and a whole of other players, give this number. I'm going to repeat it at the end of the show, and we're going to have a conference call on June the 27th at 11:15. I'm going to repeat this at the show, so you get a piece of paper. If you're close to a piece of paper right now, write this down. We're going to have a conference call to start organizing this event in this 50th year with the coronavirus and all. And that telephone number is going to be on June the 27th at 11:15. And the conference call number is 978-990-5118. And the call-in code is 5572. So if you didn't catch it, I'm going to ask my son to try to post it on the Facebook page. If you didn't catch it, I'm going to definitely repeated at the end of the show, so you can get that information. But if your brother, a cousin, husband, boyfriend played on that 1969-70 team, it was a great team, because the year before that, the team with, I think Jones was telling me, I thought it was 0-9. They lost all the games. They may have tied one.
Okay, I think I heard that.
Yeah. But then our year, we went all the way to the champ.
Were y'all undefeated?
No, we lost a couple of games. But they were AAA schools, and they were very close.
I got you.
Very close. Matter of fact, 6 points, which with Brandon, and Brandon had a juggernaut, you know. And I remember Paul Ondorf came up to us and said, "Man, y'all, that's the hardest I've ever been hit." So hey, everybody, all Yellow Jackets, support this 50th year anniversary of that last championship team. If you know cousin, brother that played on that team, or if a lot of we've lost a lot of players. Mm-hmm. You know, call in. You know, because we're going to remember everybody. If you're a relative of one of the players, whether he's still with us or not, call that number. I'm going to repeat it one more time. 978-990-5118. And the access code is 5572. And this is going to take place on June the 27th. At 11:15 a.m. And so be sure to tune in, to call in, and so that you can get involved in the festivities of this 50th year anniversary of the Blake High Yellow Jackets, state champions 1969-70 team. Hey, all right, so yeah. So I posted some interesting things last night. You know, the spirit. Or my guardians were speaking to me,
right? And
I mean, they'd be downloading the information into me, and I'm going like, how can I get all that sent in 1 hour? But there are 3 things that I talked about in my post on Facebook. Divided we fall, and that topic is pertaining to Vladimir Putin of Russia, and I stated that I know his heart and I know his purpose. And part of his purpose is what he's doing and what he's going to implement is whether people go along with this or not. It's a spiritual purpose of what he's doing. Okay, mm-hmm. And so I also stated that Vladimir was born 7 days after me.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is why I can say I know his heart and I know his purpose. You know, and I've seen him post some things, particular to black people in America. Mm-hmm. Like, why y'all going along with this madness of white supremacy? Mm-hmm. Because the Russians know that, you know, in order for them to compete on a par basis with black athletes, they had to really work hard. Yeah. You know, and they had to go to some extreme measures. Not taking any away from Russian Caucasians. I have a lot of respect for them.
Me too.
Yeah, because they're not that racist white supremacist bull crap.
No, and on top of that, they have they got a different genetic makeup slightly. A lot of them are like relatively descendant of Genghis Khan.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead with you.
Yeah, but they earned their stuff.
Yeah.
They earned their way the good old fashioned way.
Yeah.
They didn't have slaves to come in. Well, you know, unless y'all got some. If any scholars out there find something different,
otherwise,
these Caucasian men and women earned things the good old fashioned way.
Indeed.
You know, and so they didn't have they didn't ride on the backs of black folks for 400 years, and then took all of those assets and used them against us to create the situation that ultimately was exposed by the murder of George Floyd.
Right.
You know, but I'm going to talk about that with the Mississippi spies too. All right. So the other thing I posted was the documentary, The Mississippi Spies. Man, that documentary blew my mind.
So it's a documentary.
Yeah.
So what is it about? Because I know.
So the documentary talked about the conditions in Mississippi. Mississippi was like another country in the midst of the United States.
It still is to some extent.
Yeah, the racism was so blatant and overt, you know, and and to the point where the state of Mississippi funded a sovereignty commission, and their job was to investigate, outside agitators or any black folks that wanted to gain or acquire their voting rights,
Yeah.
and just be able to live like human beings.
Right.
And so this commission was actually funded, and don't quote me on that because I watched it, but to my knowledge, it was funded by the state of Mississippi to infiltrate every organization that dealt with black folks acquiring equal rights. And the number one way of infiltrating them was, they tried sending Caucasians in to spy, and that didn't work well. So they finally figured out. They said, we need to use blacks to infiltrate.
Gotcha.
And so the commission was funded where they can actually pay black folks to spy on their own people.
Right.
And then the word got out that the mission of the Sovereignty Commission, some blacks called in and volunteered to spy. And their justification, well, it wasn't their justification, but it was later discovered that, if blacks get equal rights, I'll lose my status in the black neighborhood.
Oh, that was the perspective of some of the black people that was signing up.
Right.
Volunteering.
Yeah. Well, I think if you watch the documentary closely, it was that they, whatever illusionary position they had in the black community,
I got you.
It gave them a position of authority.
Right.
That because black folks were being oppressed,
Right.
and they didn't want to lose that position to be a part of the mechanism that suppressed black people. Yeah. So some of them called up, you don't have to pay me, I'll spy for you for free. So I'm going to come back, I'm going to circle back around to that. Also, I met with our mayor in the city of Tampa, Jane Castor, and I also met with a representative from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this was an effort to reach out to the black community and say, look, the world has spoken. Not just Tampa, not just Florida,
right.
not just the United States. The world has spoken that this illusion of white supremacy is destroying our planet. It's that simple.
It is.
And so, when I sat down with Nick, and I'm gonna tell you, I was surprised that she agreed to sit down to my table.
Who, Jane Castor?
Yeah, I was, she didn't get up and run. She was cool. And now, brace yourself, folks. I'm not about kissing butt. I'm gonna call it just the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So, my original initial assertion to the mayor was, the bottom line to all of this is economics. All right, and economics meaning having a fair and equitable opportunity at the monies that are spent in the city of Tampa with contractors. Yeah. And so, and I also explained to her why none of these black business consulting firms are working, because they're set up to bring in counselors that's never signed a payroll check before. They have a lot of book knowledge, but they don't have metaphysical knowledge. They don't have real actual hand-on experience in developing businesses.
Right.
So I made a recommendation. Why don't we work with, folks that's been, whether they graduated from high school or not, if they've been running and operating a business, why don't we bring them into a coalition?
Good idea.
Because they got real life
They
experience.
got real deal experience.
They didn't read about it because I learned a lot at FAMU in business administration in terms of how to write a business plan, what a pro forma cash flow projection is, a break-even analysis, marketing, advertising, management. I learned all that stuff. But when I got in the real world,
What wasn't applicable?
it was a whole different. And it was good so that when I spoke, that I understood those principles.
Right.
But the real world is a whole different arena.
I guess.
Yeah, and they don't teach that in the schools.
Right.
So we're gonna I'm gonna circle back around to that. Okay, and so those were the 3 issues. Also, one other thing that I did not post I'm still excited about the youth
Right.
finally waking up, and Caucasian youth, because they went out and got in the. I saw a picture of a group of Caucasian women, knowing the mentality of these mentally deranged Ku Klux Klan Nazi policemen.
Right.
Not all of them, but there are a large percentage of them join the police force for that one particular reason.
Yeah.
These Caucasian women knew that, and I saw a picture of these Caucasian women standing in front of the black protesters,
Uh-huh.
as to say, we know we know you ain't gonna shoot us,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
huh?
Yeah. It's Oh, wait. So let's go back. You said because I was yawning, so that was just a little bit of that went past me. You say there were Caucasian women police officers.
No, just natural citizens.
Just regular. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They knew the agenda
Yeah.
that's all associated with this pandemic,
Yeah.
and then starting a race war so that they can enact martial law
Right.
to shut the whole country down, because these mentally deranged leaders are losing control of their illusion.
Man, they're desperate right about now.
They desperate. Yeah. And so young Caucasian kids, I understand your pain, to an extent, because what I do understand is that your family, your mother, your father, your uncles, you understand all the crazy things that they've done or doing.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that they have been living behind an illusion of white supremacy or white privilege, and it's not kosher.
Right.
Yeah. And so these young Caucasian kids are feeling it in their soul. This ain't right.
Yeah.
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 And so, I'm gonna say to all young black folks, don't get all arrogant and say, well, these Caucasian kids they ain't been through what we've been through. But listen, there's an old saying, vengeance is mine, said the Lord. And you don't have to punish. If these young Caucasian kids want to get their soul right and be a part of a movement, knowing that this white supremacy crap is just an illusion, that's being manipulated by really demonic, mentally deranged leaders, and they don't want the negative karma.
No, they don't want to go along. But like you say, a lot of them can feel it, and most of the middle-aged Caucasian people that you see now, it's not like when it was when you guys were growing up, so where there were segregated schools, and then they became integrated schools, and then there was the culture shock of the integration. A lot of the middle-aged Caucasian folks you see grew up with us in school, and so they have been able to view us from a very, very close perspective. They realize that we are everything that we look like on TV, and sometimes not, but they've been able to ride in our cars with us, come home and eat with us, all that kind of stuff, right? And so they've grown up very, very, very close to us, and they've been able to see the supremacy, the quote unquote white supremacy game is just that. It's just a game, and they can't see any light at the end of the tunnel with that. You know what I mean? They just can't see it. Even in an economic, in an economic arena, they know that that veil is so thin, or that foundation is so fragile, right? They know they're not going to be able to keep that up for another 50 years. Economically or strategically.
5 years.
Right.
5 months now.
Exactly. So they don't want to get involved with that. They can see the implications of that. And so so that's what you're saying. Now, there is some things we need to look out for, because especially during these times of protest, because these times of protest are kind of giving a prelude example to what it's going to really be like when we start sitting down at tables, playing, plotting, and strategizing. So, like, take these protests. A lot of, I'm not gonna say a lot, but there is still some more infiltrating groups coming in right about now. Right, you've got, quote unquote, Antifa, and Antifa is not a particular group; it's more like a movement. But in other words, you got paid people to come in and
You mean agitators?
agitate, and redirect the movement into a particular narrative, right? So I'm saying this to Caucasian people as well. When you see that, point that out. Speak to your black counterparts. Let them know that, hey man, they ain't with us. I don't know them. I don't know why. I don't have any protocol or communication on who that is, and they're not doing what we set out to do. Because in this particular time, what's being painted here is the prelude to how we're going to plan, plot, strategize after the protests are over. Because after the protests are over, we're going to have to sit down, look at the next 5 years, look at the next 10 years, and the next 20 years. I'm talking about black people, but and we're going to have to figure out exactly where we want to be, where we want to live, and how we're going to live. And we at this moment we can't let the narrative go astray right now.
All right, so I'm going to encourage young black folks and young Caucasian folks to start to get it. Go to UPAALL, that's UPAall.com. Send us a message, an email, sign up with us, because we have a comprehensive plan and of how we're going to turn this thing around. And also to young Caucasians that want to get involved, that's wondering whether black folks are going to be looking down at you or trying to use you and abuse you. I don't tolerate that. So you want to get with this movement, you're working on your soul. You're working on your future lives. You got life. The spirit lives forever, and so 1,000 years from now, you're laying the groundwork for your future lives, your future incarnations, and you're going to do that by reversing the negative karma of what your ancestors did. They murdered, killed, raped, and stole land under the auspices of this illusionary Jesus Christ. And it was devastating to people all over the land. So you reverse that, and this is when I'm counseling people, and they come to me and they say, "Why am I'm having problems with this over and over again?" I say, because it's something that was perpetuated or precipitated in a previous life, and you need to work that out. You need whatever the hell you're going through in this life is the hell you created for somebody in a previous life. So now what you need to do is reverse that by going into that environment, finding people that are suffering the same fate, and working on a plan to reverse that by working out of your heart with unconditional love. But let's go on back. Let's go back to the topics the way we started them out. So my post said, "Divided we fall," and what Vladimir Putin has in store for the U.S. if we don't come together immediately.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Okay. So, all right. So now I'm going to do my weird thing, right? It's not weird. It's just sound weird to other people. So you remember, you've heard this story 100 times. So back in July of 1952, there were 14 UFOs that showed up over
they ain't weird.
Washington, D.C.
It's documented.
Okay.
That's what happened.
So I believe me, Vladimir, and several other spiritual beings showed up on this planet at that time for a reason.
Right.
Because when some of the posts that I've seen with Vladimir, I'm going like, yeah, this man, that's his purpose. That's my purpose. I said, in his heart, he's confused. Why don't black folks get their act together? So what Vladimir is doing naturally, the same thing I would do. If there is a cancer on the planet or in a body, a human body, you want to isolate that cancer. You want to discover the composition of the free radicals that's causing that cancer, and you want to extract it, and you want it flushed out of the system. And so naturally, his spirit is driving him to, if black folks and Caucasian folks, if you're divided, and this country is divided, any enemy or predator or conqueror is going to concentrate on that division.
Yep.
All right. So if you're Caucasian folks blaming the hell in your life on black folks or Mexicans coming into the country, that's pure ignorance. You need to check yourself. So Vladimir he's gonna by the divine inspiration, he wants to eradicate this cancer of racism in the United States that's being spread all over the planet. Naturally, he wants it. So he's going to infiltrate. He's going to send other. I went into a store just yesterday, and there was a Russian guy there. And so they're working as a collective.
Right.
And what they're going to do is quietly come in here. Now they're a lot stronger than our Caucasians because our Caucasians got their wealth through default.
Right.
Okay. All right. And they understand the objective. They don't believe in white supremacy. So they're going to come in and they're working deals now. I think last year on the show, I talked about how the Russians were converting their ruble into American dollars. And they're setting up camps. So they're secretly and quietly building an estate. All right? Yeah. So young black men and women, if you just sit back and all y'all worried about is, your hair, your nails, or rims and all that. Meanwhile, these Russians, they're working on an objective, and I'm not mad with them, because if you're gonna sit back and not organize and not come together and build your own industry, then outside source is gonna take over your estate. Yeah. And so the Caucasian guys. The Caucasian guys in the United States, right. You're not as tough as Russians.
Caucasian Americans, you mean?
Yeah, Caucasian Americans. Right. These guys are a lot tougher, and they will jack you up. They don't have any problems jacking up American Caucasian guys.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So we have to understand that. Now I'm appealing to the youth. You guys got to come together if you want to maintain control of your country, because my spiritual brother Vladimir, he understands the division. He understands that this is a cancer, and he's going to do everything in his spirit to shut this crap down. That's what I would do. All right? So,
I got you.
Yeah. So, to young black folks, young Caucasian folks, that you're starting to get it. All right. Go on to our website, UPAALL, that's UPAAll.com, sign up with us. And the reason we're saying, my son and I, we work from a metaphysical perspective. We understand the three basic principles in the universe, and particularly on a planet like this. And that's all men are created equal. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and love your fellow humans unconditionally. All right. So I don't care what color you are. All right. If you come into our organization, we're going to work out a plan. If you don't know who you are, we're going to help you determine that, or help you find yourself. And we're going to leverage our resources. So when I go back down to the city hall, we're going to go down with a plan, but we need numbers. So we need you to sign up with UPAALL, because if we have numbers on our books, when we go to talk with these city's officials, they understand one thing. They can be either voted in or out of their position. It takes numbers. We're going to go to break, and we'll be right back, and I'm going to break it down further on how we're going to move forward with this thing.
Indeed.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time.
Idea how to find each other.
The whole experience was
the most frightening 10 hours of my life.
If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. You can make a difference by dropping off a hot meal and saying a quick hello. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend that I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
All right. We're back. This is the Straight Talk Morning Show, and my name is Andre Hill Sr., and my co-host is Andre Hill Jr., and we're covering some heavy topics on what's about to happen to us if we don't come together as a people, as citizens of the United States of America. All right? So, I was trying to explain the heart and purpose of Vladimir. And he has the resources, and it's been demonstrated that he has access to the President of the United States. Now, Vladimir is not a crazy man, because if he was a crazy man, he has just as many nuclear warheads as us, and he could have done bombed us out, put us in a position, but he understands the principles of the universe. He understands what negative karma would do to you if you murder a whole group of people because of your minute insecurities. And so what we're doing here, we're encouraging the youth. My son's generation, I think my son's generation is a generation that can affect the two generations behind them.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And but in order for them to do that, I believe my son's generation is totally disenfranchised with the American system the way it is, and it was demonstrated by the protests of all races. And so we have to capitalize on this movement. Don't let George Floyd or the incident and many other black men and women that have been assassinated by these mentally deranged policemen, who I think, man, what are they? Are these bad cops? They got dirt on them, and they're telling them, look, we need you to go out and do these hideous things. We need a race war, Yeah,
what I was just looking at something on Facebook recently. This may be somewhat dangerous, but I don't care. But there's a fraternal order of police too. Remember that?
Yeah.
And they have their code. You know what I mean? And they also have a no snitch code within the police department.
Right.
You know what I mean? So even if there is a bad apple in the police department, there's a code amongst them, not to expose that, right? And so that's what they're dealing with from that level out now. As far as deranged police officers, I think there's a few of them out there, but of course they're going to use their position to do what they want to do, and also leverage the no snitch code amongst the the police departments. Now, on a bigger scale, you know what I think at this point, since the American dollar doesn't have anything tangible to back it, that American money is now backed by different levels of military-industrial complex, basically, right?
Right.
And at this point, it's just about the ability to now protect everything that's been stolen.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's why when you're looking at the budgets of a lot of police departments in various cities, you're seeing they're getting a big chunk of the city budget, because it's been kind of quiet as kept, but but it's still public information. But you got some cities where the police department's budget is like close to 40%.
Okay, so this is why in a lot of the protests they were saying defund the police department. Yeah. And so I know you saying that you might be on shaky ground saying this. No, all of those deranged policemen that sign up, if you sign up because you're a Klansman or a Nazi or a white supremacist, resign, okay? Because you're about to be exposed. Just go ahead and resign and start working on reversing this negative karma that you built up, because you're not going to escape that. The shield is in the universal realm. You cannot escape it. You're going to pay, and you're going to pay severely. I'm going to tell you, I'm a sheriff from the universal realm, and I'm here to deliver an eviction notice to all of you mentally deranged beings that have done the horrendous things. And so I carry a shield as well, and I carry some firepower beyond your imagination. So this is what if you join the police force because you're a Klansman and you're a Nazi and you want to continue white supremacy so that you can have a first-class citizenship based on the color of your skin. Now listen to this. You want a first-class citizenship based on your color of your skin. That is insanity. So go ahead, if you joined up for the wrong reason, and you need to start the process of repent. Repent means change thy ways, because the universal laws is going to spank that butt, and it ain't going to be pretty. So people don't be reserved. I don't need to talk about the police. They might come lock me up. Well, first of all, if you're doing something illegal, stop doing illegal stuff, because now you see the end game. The end game is they can shut your ass down. Yeah. So stop doing the illegal stuff. Clean up your house, and then when we tell the policemen, these policemen that are doing these things, that you need to resign and start and go and work on your soul and start reversing that negative karma, they'll understand. Numbers. All right. So I know people are almost probably tired of hearing about that, what's going on. So let's go on to the Mississippi Spies. Right. So one of the statements I made was the correlation between the Mississippi Spies documentary and Avatar, the movie. Now, I want you to think about this. In Avatar, okay, so you had an invading species, which was humans from Earth. Right. All right. And what were they going after? Real estate.
Real estate and resources.
All right.
Abundant real estate, basically.
Okay. So they had to wear masks because they were alien to that environment. Yeah. Okay. So the indigenous, the natives to that particular environment, they were 10 feet tall, they were agile, they were graceful, they were spiritual, they had culture. Right. But this invading alien force was artificial. They were artificial because they had to use artificial mechanisms to breathe the air. Okay? They had to use artificial mechanics to even compete with those native beings.
Yeah.
Now they use blue people, but really, in essence, those were black people.
Those were black folks.
Yeah. That the culture, the soul, and you know, and the star female in that was a black woman. So they had to project her soul through that. So here's what I'm saying. Now listen to this. Okay, eventually, those natives figured out that this invading force mean them no good. They cut down their trees, their life forces, you know, and they were bringing in this artificial system that was going to disrupt nature, the natural system. All right, but what happened with the whole meaning of Avatar was that the one Caucasian guy could transfer his soul into one of those native bodies.
Right.
He felt strong. He felt the beauty of being in balance with nature.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in the documentary Mississippi Spies, one of the Caucasian leaders who was a part of the Sovereignty Commission, their excuse was, you know what their excuse for doing what they did, developing this commission to suppress black people. The guy said it out of his mouth. He said there are no instances on the planet where Caucasian people have mixed with other races and survived.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got that's very critical. So what he is saying is, we cannot mix and maintain this doctrine of I got to be white,
right,
to live on this planet. So what you're saying to nature is, I don't respect you, nature. We're going to change you to an artificial system so that we can live in these bodies. When the young Caucasian man, when he got the opportunity, he transitioned from that Caucasian body or that human body or from the invading force into one of the natives. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Okay.
Huh?
I'm following.
So, you know, a lot of these movies, a lot of people say, well, these movies are fictional. No. One of the things in the prime directive of the universe is that when an invading force take over a primitive planet like this, they have to put the truth out in plain view. Now, they're going to dress it up where it's like it's fictional. Because I had somebody tell me one time, why don't you put fictional on your book? I said, I'm not going to put fictional on my book. It's the truth. You know, but they must put it in plain sight to give the humans or primitive planets like this planet the opportunity to make an informed decision.
True.
All right. True. So, what I'm saying to you, my Caucasian people, those bodies that you're in are rentals. I've said this before, and you may only have it for this lifetime. What will happen in the future lifetimes is predicated on how you live this lifetime. So we need you to, you know, for those that have resources that were obtained by stepping on the necks of blacks for the last 400 years, come join us at UPAALL, that's UPAall.com. Bring those resources. You know, and under my administration and my son will follow me. We have to live by strict law of those three principles of all men are created equal, treat people the way you want to be treated, and love your fellow humans unconditionally. So bring those resources, young people, black folks. If you don't have any resources, but you need to hook up, come. Just all you gotta do is go online. Type in UPAALL.com and sign up, leave your email address, information, what you want to do, whether you have a business, you know, how you want to link up with us, how we can assist you. We need the numbers. We need the numbers from young black folks and young Caucasian folks in my son's generation, because you're the ones that are in position to make this change.
Hey, I'm gonna say this to my generation right now. You know, me and Pops, we frequently have the conversation about, you know, what his generation has set up for our generation, which, you know, when we're talking about resources. And so, you know, we we come to the conclusion, I'm talking about the conversations me and Pops have, we always come to the conclusion that, you know, my generation is somewhat kind of building from brick 1 or brick 2 in this country, and that's valid. But at this point, we have found elders who have the resources to match yours to do whatever it is that we need to do right now. So like Pops was saying, go to upall.com, sign up, you know, come by when we start you know, planning these meetings again, and we're going to get into formation here. We're going to get into formation, and also, listen, if you're listening to this on Facebook and you know me and Pops personally, just go ahead and reach out to us however you know how. Don't make no excuses on reaching out to us, because we're available. And again, we do have the resources now, but like you're saying, it is going to take numbers. I can't do this by myself. Pops can't do it by himself. You're not going to be able to do it by yourself. It's going to take a collective. It's going to take a collective of folks in my generation to show up, show Pop's generation that we are serious, because we ain't got no choice but to be serious right now. You feel me? And say, hey, here's what I have. How can you match me or fill in the gap of that other 40 to 20% that I may need to seal the deal?
Okay, so one other thing, I'm getting ready to move on to one other subject because our time is getting short. One other thing about Avatar is the leaders of those different native tribes. Mm-hmm. Man, y'all got to come together and drop these egos. I know a lot of black folks. I remember when Martin Luther King was assassinated. It was like, who's going to be the new Martin Luther King? Who's going to be our new leader? Okay, every day there are 144 different human perspectives on this planet. So whoever is leading whatever neighborhood or community of people you have on Facebook, all of you leaders, you have to come together. Stop trying to be the one to say I'm the one that's going to do the change. You cannot do it individually. It only worked for a short time with Martin Luther King. Yeah. If it was 10 or 15 leaders coming together saying, you take one of those out, we're going to replace it with another, but we're here as a collective, that will make the difference. Stop trying to be the one on TV to say, we're the one that's going to make this change. It cannot be done that way. Even in the movie Avatar, or even World War II, the way Hitler was shut down is that all these different leaders came together and said, we need to team up on this demon and shut it down. Yeah. So just reach out. You know, I lead a certain group of people. We got Connie Burton out there. We got Life. We got Tony Hart. You know, all of these leaders. All of you need to start working together, coming together, and you know, part of this COVID virus was designed to shut down meetings because people are starting to wake up. Well, we can find alternative ways. Stop trying to do it individually. It will not work. I promise you it won't work. All right? So leaders, come together, represent your people, do it as a collective, because we need to look into this sovereignty commission. Even though it was shut down and defunded by the state of Mississippi, and the records were suppressed for 50 years. And that's how they found out who were the black folks that were spying on their own people and suppressing them along with the white supremacists. So that ties into a universal law. Everything in darkness shall soon come to light. So if you are spying on your own people or disrupting because of your insecurities or mentally deranged delusions, it's going to be discovered, and then your children are going to find out about it. Your friends and family. Why did you do that to your own people? It will be revealed at some point. So let's change the program, folks. Now, also, I met with Jane Castor, you know. And one of the things, again, it all ties into everything else that we're saying right here. When we set to reestablish Jane is a very intelligent woman. Okay, she sat there, and when I explained, I said, Jane, these are some of the things that needs to be addressed. I didn't even have to tell her. She wrote down a whole list of things that needed to be adjusted in the city of Tampa contracting procurement.
Right.
Okay.
And it was valid.
Yeah. Gotcha. And I went like, I didn't even say that to her, and she knew. So Jane want to get reelected. All right. All black leaders. Even though I'm an elder, I'm not tripping. I'm not gonna ever try to do this by myself. So when you come together, we're gonna sit down, and everything that Jane talked about doing in the contracting component of the city of Tampa, we are going to follow up with her. We have some experts with our organization that understand what needs to be implemented. But don't try to go do it. I'm gonna go do this by myself so I can negotiate me a little piece of crumb. No, don't do it. Let's do it as a collective. That the illusion of getting rich, that is an illusion. It's a setup. Do it as a collective. Please hear what I'm saying, because if you don't get it real soon, you will be exterminated. Yeah. Vladimir, he knows. He's working on a plan to take over the United States, not because he's trying to be a demon, because the United States is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Huh?
You're right. But you said something. There is no individual wealth. There's no such thing. That's not how that works. It has to be a collective.
All right. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I reached out. The young lady with them said they were interested in making a change. They're a little embarrassed now because everybody started getting on the knee and they dogged out Kaepernick. Did I say his name right? Mm-hmm. Say his name right. Kaepernick. They dogged him out, isolated him, and did all those crazy things. So they are interested in changing because 90% of the players are black in the NFL, and they're making good money. Yeah. And these black players, listen to me now, listen clearly. These black players cannot invest in their own community under the current philosophy. Yeah. If we come together as a group, then we can go to the NFL and say, deal with these racist policies of cutting football players if they go outside the box on investing into sound business ideals to help their own people. Stop telling them that they can only invest their money in these white supremacist nonprofit organizations that ain't doing nothing, absolutely nothing for our people, but continuing the process. So these are the things that we're going to focus on. But when I was just talking to Jonas the other night, and he was telling me about how black folks supported the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, how they fly out of town. This is our hometown to represent. But if you're gonna, even with the Tampa Bay Bucks, if you're gonna continue a racist agenda, man, we got to rethink this whole thing.
The whole thing.
Yeah. We got to rethink this whole thing. So I'm gonna continue reaching out to the Bucks for two reasons. I want them to be a part of our 50th anniversary, and we want people to understand there's a new paradigm shift in order. Yeah, things are changing. Yeah. Your generation.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
I think you're gonna get a good response from the Bucks. Right about now, you got a lot of sports players, period, let alone football players. They speaking now. They're getting real radical right about now, and they are looking for places to put their money in the kind of projects that we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to continue to reach out to them. I'm going to take in consideration, that there's a lot going on.
Right.
But I'm relentless. So don't forget also. I think we got 1 minute. For anybody for the Blake High School Yellow Jackets 1969-1970 class, that number again, conference call on June 27th at 11:15 a.m. is 978-990-5118. And the excess code is 5572. I'm going to say that one more time. You get that pencil out now. It is June the 27th at 11:15 a.m. I think that's a Saturday. And the call-in number is 990-5118. And the access code is 5572. Folks, if you had relatives on that team, because I know we had, that was an amazing season. We worked real hard to win that state championship. We dedicated ourselves. We stayed focused. And do you know, I've told you all your life, the key thing that those two coaches, Jim Brown, not Jim, Abe Brown, and Jim Williams, Big Jim Williams, you know what they taught us the whole time throughout practice and when we was winning those games? You know, the one thing they told us about the opposition,
what's that?
They put their pants on the same way we do, one leg at a time.
Right.
Hey, and so all my young black folks from my son's generation, it's your turn. You have no excuses. Go online, upall.com, sign up, leave a phone number, contact, what you want to do, and we will direct you into a conference or a meeting to discuss how we're going to move forward, how we're going to go back to the city, how we're going to get your business structured where you can bid contracts. We're going to show you how to bid. We're going to give you everything you need, but you got to show up. We need the numbers. Yeah. Because see, I'm not going to go down there and say, hey, master, will you please give me some crumbs so I can buy me a Mercedes and a nice home in the suburb? No, I can't operate like that.
We going for the real enchilada.
Yeah. Hey, okay. This has been the Straight Talk Morning Show. Yeah, and my name is Andre Hill Sr. and my co-host, Andre Hill Jr. Next week, we're going to have even more exciting topics. Be sure to tune in. Stay with us because we're going to bring it live right here on the Straight Talk Morning Show. Thank you very much for listening in. Peace out. See you next week. Thank you, sir. See you next time.
Peace.